He is the huge, worldwide popular star of the Hay Bale Comedy Club. Lars Callieou is my guest today.
Reluctantly.
This podcast is brought to you by homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals, and Northern Alberta Heating. With work in and out of Edmonton, they're looking for sheet metal workers. Send resumes to tim@northernheating.ca. Now, let's get to the show.
Reluctantly.
Good to
Hey,
see
Lars,
you.
welcome back from Thailand.
Yeah, thanks. It was brief, just a little 8-day trip.
Just 8 days?
Yep.
Just 8 days. How can you see Thailand in 8 days?
It's 3 shows. Mostly I'm there for work, so I just go for the shows. It's either Regina or Phuket. Take your pick.
Wow. Phew. You're gonna have to leave that with me. I'll whoa. Regina or Phuket. Well, Regina's got a good club.
Yeah. Lots of great comedy. All over. After 21 years, Phuket is Lloydminster, is Grand Prairie, is Sydney, Australia. It's the same.
Do you have an agent? Like, how do you end up with 3 shows over 8 days in Thailand? Was it all in Phuket?
No, 1 show in Phuket, 2 shows in Bangkok.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I hope you flew between.
Yes. I think it's drivable. I do think it's drivable. I think there's a bridge that connects, but Phuket's a little island, so
yeah,
easier to fly.
Well, and the Phuket's away at the south end of Thailand. You have to go up, you drive past the Bay of Thailand, past Hua Hin, where the king's palace is before he died, and then into Bangkok. I mean, Bangkok to Hua Hin, where we stayed, I think that was 3 or 4 hours or something like that. So
2015 was the first time I did Thailand, and before I walked on stage, they let you know, if you make a joke about the king or the royal family, they will come and take you away, and there's nothing the club can do, nothing the Canadian embassy can do. If you disparage the royals in Thailand, you get taken away in a van by people in black military suits, and they don't there's nothing anybody does to help you.
And I know the king is on the currency there. I can't remember what year the king died.
2019. I was there. Well, 2018, and then there was a year of mourning, and I was in Bangkok doing shows during the coronation, and I can't say I ever thought that a coronation would affect my ticket sales.
It's big time. Yeah. Well, what is Thai currency? I'm just Googling something. Baht. That's right. That's what I'm trying to remember.
I have some here.
Oh, you have some baht?
Yeah. I have some to sell. Actually, I'm selling it to a friend of mine in Agassiz who's headed over there. But so the new king is on all the money. So the new king, the son of the old king, obviously, but
right.
It was a little controversial, and I won't say too much because I want to plan on going back over there. So that is the new king.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the old king had glasses on the currency.
Yeah, and he was, I think, the longest serving monarch. Like Queen Elizabeth served longer, but he was 70 years, and he did a lot of really good things for the people. Beloved. He was truly, they loved him over there. And it was a kind of a constitutional monarchy, similar to ours, where, there's also a government in power that makes some of the decisions. But this is a 20 Thai baht. That's the new king. And then this is a 500. It's all the same guy, but
all the new king. How much baht are you selling to your buddy in Agassiz?
I like 400 Canadian, I think. Yeah, it's usually, and here's a great tip for people who, if you're doing comedy in Asia, I recommend go to Vietnam last, because if you exchange your money in Vietnam to Canadian or American, if you're American, the exchange rate in Vietnam, their margin is like 1,000th of a penny. So if you do all your Asia, Hong Kong, Vietnam, finish in Vietnam, sell all your money for Canadian, and you will come back. You'll save, 5 to 7% exchanging it here. Vietnam exchange rate is amazing. It's it's awesome. Yeah. So I would do like Singapore, Malaysia, Bangkok, Hong Kong, and then I would finish in Vietnam, go to any jewelry store, and you can just bring like a Google search of what it all is, they make 25 cents on the exchange rate. They'll give you all Canadian. It's the way to do it.
Wow. So who books you in Phuket and Thailand?
Different comedy clubs. So like there's a comedy club owner in Toronto, Ottawa, there's a different one in Calgary, similar type thing in that there's English speaking comedy clubs all over Asia. There was a really good one in Kuala Lumpur. That the story of that, Rizal was the owner of that, very funny comedian. During an open mic, he had somebody go up, and it's a Muslim country predominantly, and the girl said she was Muslim, and then she took off all her garb and was wearing sort of a bikini and a mini skirt, and then started disparaging the Muslim faith, and she went to jail. Her boyfriend who filmed it went to jail, and Rizal ended up getting arrested and really had to fight, saying it was a comedy open mic. Like, I don't vet their material. They go up and get 3 to 5 minutes. They do whatever they want. So there was no way for me to know. And the government said you were responsible as the club owner. He could never open another club. And they eventually let him out. And now he's doing a show at all the fringe festivals around the world called Arrested. So Rizal did that. But for your golf guest, who I think is coming up, or perhaps you interviewed him, Rizal's aunt. So Rizal's aunt married Vijay Singh. So Rizal lived in Florida with Vijay Singh, and Rizal's aunt is Malaysian and had married Vijay Singh. So he was staying with Vijay Singh, and he was walking the course on the Masters when Tiger hit his famous shot, that famous Tiger flop shot where it landed, rolled in, sat on the edge, and then dropped into the cup.
I was there for that.
No, what?
I was there for that.
Rizal was the owner of this, like, it was shut down, but he's still doing comedy. Rizal was walking the course with Vijay Singh of the Masters, and he said the roar from that was one of the loudest things he ever heard.
Was he on 16 when it happened?
No, because Vijay, I think, was a few holes ahead. So Tiger
he was watching Vijay.
Right. He was walking the course with Vijay, his uncle.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, I was on 16. I was literally 18 feet away from Tiger Woods when he hit that shot.
Talk about, like, other than being Tiger in that moment, that must have been one of the loudest things you ever heard in your life.
It was unbelievable. Chris DeMarco was, and like every year when the Masters comes up, and the Masters is coming up here in the beginning of April or the second week of April, whatever it is, every year TSN shows the clips, and that you see the replays of that, and you can see me. I'm wearing a yellow hat and a yellow golf shirt. The yellow hat says U.S. Open on it. It doesn't zoom in, like you can't see me winking at anybody or anything like that. But yeah, I'm standing there. There's an empty chair where the sort of the security guard was sitting.
Yep.
He had to get up so Tiger could hit the shot, and then from that tree there was a rope across, and I was not in the very front row. I was in the second row behind, and as soon as he hit the shot, we all stood up, and you can plainly see me stand up in my yellow hat and yellow shirt. And
wow.
It was, without a doubt, the most unbelievable thing I had ever seen in my life. And that was the same weekend where I saw my very first hole-in-one. and it was on that hole as well, 16. So yeah. I saw one of the PGA Tour professionals make a hole-in-one, and then there was something really weird that happened, because if it was during the practice round, if a player, the players go up and they do the goofy thing just to perform for the fans, for the patrons. Yeah. So they go up at the front of the tee box, and they will hit the shot and skip it up onto the green and try and see what happens. Well, what happens is if you're in competition and you hit one into the water, you have to go to the drop area. Well, somebody hit and made a 3 from the drop zone. So I saw a hole-in-one, I saw a 3 from the drop zone, and I saw Tiger's shot on 16, all on the same weekend, the same trip to the Masters.
Incredible. I mean, being there for that moment, forget, like, that's like being at the Super Bowl when Brady came back, against the Falcons. Like, just...
Without a word of a lie, I could see my chest moving, my heart, like. And you're right. Your buddy saying that the roar was so loud, and that was actually the weekend that I met Vijay Singh too.
Oh, cool. Well, Rizal would have been near him.
Yeah, he was walking from the clubhouse to the practice tee, and there was an area where you could go and stand and get your picture taken at the circle driveway. There's a big flower arrangement and all
Yeah,
that
I'm
stuff.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was standing there. I got my picture taken, and then VJ was walking toward the practice tee, and I went over. I said, "Hey, Mr. Singh, would you mind signing my hat?" So I took my Sharpie and my hat, signed my hat, and away he went. So
Cool. Yeah,
that's
that's Rizal's uncle by marriage.
well, I'm 2 degrees of separation from Rizal.
Yeah, and he is man. The dude is funny, and he's like does comedy in English and in Malaysian. And we had done a show together in 2016 that we didn't know we had done together. It's called Lights Out Laughs. So a very funny comedian named Marcus Ryan. If anybody wants to follow him on his social medias, it's Marcus Ryan. Very funny. Comes to Edmonton for the Fringe all the time. So Marcus Ryan does a show to raise money for a charity for people who are blind. And everybody in the crowd comes in and they all have a blindfold. And then the comedians go up and do comedy in a pitch black room with all the audience blindfolded.
Wow, that is, I can't even imagine it, because when you lose one of your senses, the other ones are heightened.
Yeah, so the sounds, you're really listening and really focused, and the room is pitch black. And Marcus does such a great job with it. I don't believe he's doing it this year, but because the comedians are going into a dark room one by one to do this, and there's just the light from the exit above the door is enough to get you to the stage. Although one comedian didn't fall off the stage, but hit their knee. They were fine. So you walk into this dark room, everybody's blindfolded, and there's a couple of times in my act where I realize I motion. I point to something like, oh, look at it, like talking about somebody looking at a menu. And I'm like, oh, if you'll notice right there, your menu. And I like without the visual of it, I'm like, oh shit, I got to describe. So you almost have to do a described audio of what you're doing. So that raises money and gives people a chance to experience. My dad had lost his sight the last couple of years of his life. So I have great empathy, compassion, and love for the CNIB, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, which I had done a charity golf tournament for them once. And I ran into Walter Gretzky. And Walter Gretzky was a big, supporter of the CNIB. And I met him. We were coming through a door, and I said, "Oh, hey, Mr. Gretzky, pleased to meet you. I used to watch your son play hockey." And he just deadpan looks at me and he goes, "Which one?" And I go, Brett. I was a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan. I watched Brett Gretzky for the 12 games he was in the NHL or whatever.
Oh, that is Walter was a funny dude.
Yeah.
He was a funny guy. I remember meeting him a number of times with and without Wayne. And yeah, he was a funny guy.
Yeah, he was quick. Because I'm being a little bit of a smart aleck. I used to watch your son play hockey. Must have had it 1,000 times because he did not even miss a beat. He's like, oh, which one?
Reluctantly
podcast is brought to you by Northern Alberta Heating Limited, specializing in commercial HVAC. And Corey tells me that they are busier than a fox in a chicken coop right now with all the business they can handle and then some. They are looking for motivated, long-term employees who want to work for a great company. Are you an experienced sheet metal worker? Are you looking for a new outfit? A change for the better? Maybe the place you're at isn't the right fit for you. And maybe you know somebody who's an experienced sheet metal worker. Well, let them know about this. Send resumes to tim@northernheating.ca. They're looking for new people, first-year apprentices, second-year apprentices, and younger journeymen. There are also positions for entry-level with training available too. They have work both in and out of Edmonton. If you've got these qualities and qualifications, get your resume together and send it off today. There's jobs awaiting, and that tin ain't gonna bash itself. Email tim@northernheating.ca to kickstart something new or a change for the better.
Reluctantly.
What is it how many times have you been to Thailand?
This is the fifth. Yeah, fifth. This was the fifth time touring over there. There was the first time I did Phuket. Man, I'm like Forrest Gump with this career. I feel like I have fallen into all kinds of lucky things. So 2015, I had done Australia for the first time. And that really came as a byproduct of not loving working on cruise lines. It was fun. They were great, but I didn't feel like I was loving it. So 2015, I started going to Australia, messaged Marcus Ryan, who got me in contact with all the bookers over there. It's Marcus Ryan, follow him. So went over there, and then on the way home, stopped in Bangkok to visit a couple of good friends of mine. So Dan and Melissa were living there, and I stopped in to see them. I can honestly say I love doing comedy. The travel doesn't matter where I am. I'm just as happy in Cold Lake as I am in Singapore. And I mean that sincerely. Like, I love this crazy job. Do a show in Bangkok for free, 20-minute spot at Comedy Club Bangkok. Great club, fantastic club. So Comedy Club Bangkok, do a spot there. 4 months later, I get a message that says, hey, we'd like to invite you to do the Magners Comedy Festival in Asia. We'll do 7 shows, all these different places, 4 and 5-star hotels. We'll pay for your travel. Well, that's like getting an email from a Saudi prince, like, hey, just send me your banking information and I'll give you $1 billion or whatever. I just deleted it. I didn't even reply to it. I just deleted it. And I got another one like, hey, we don't know if you got our email. Would you like to, we'll fly you to Asia, 4 and 5-star hotels, pay you well, minimum of 7 shows. And I'm like, who are you? Like, that's what? And the guy messaged back and said, the Comedy Club Bangkok became a venue for the Magners Comedy Festival, the cider from England. And they recommended you because you had done a set there, and they said you were great. So how would you like to do this comedy festival? So 2016, I go over, I do Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Thailand. And the last show in Thailand at the same club, at Comedy Club Bangkok, one of the most amazing shows I've ever had in my life. If it was my microphone and there was no MC, it's the only time in my career I would have ever thought about rock star in the mic. Like, wow. The crowd was like, wow. I mean, not Tiger Woods, hitting a flop 16. Shot on 16, but one of the loudest. I have a recording of it, and the audience is laughing so loud at the end of the set that you couldn't even hear the last tag to the joke. And I would never disrespect equipment. That's just not who I am. And I certainly wouldn't want another comedian bending down to pick up a microphone after I've dropped it. Like, I wouldn't do that. But man, that's as close as I've ever come to wanting to do it. Like, and I'm just like, thank you, good night. Like, boom, I'm out of here. So the festival got a bunch of emails. They told me later. They said, if Lars is coming back next year, we'll buy our tickets right now. So I got invited back in 2017, did the same thing, Singapore, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Thailand. And this time, the first year was almost more fun because we had 2 or 3 days in every spot. The second time, we did way more shows in way more spots. So that's when we had done Phuket and Hanoi and like a whole bunch of little stops. But we would fly in, it would go airport, hotel, they'd pick us up at the hotel, venue, back to the hotel, back to the airport, fly out. So people go, how was Hanoi? I'm like, I didn't see it. Like, I performed there, but I saw the comedy club. It was awesome, but that's all I saw. So then after 2 years of doing this festival, I got to know the bookers in Asia and all the comedy clubs. And, you have a good set and they want, they're happy to have you back. So I started going back 2018, 2019, and I would have been doing all of those again in 2020. But of course, the world shut down. So this was my first time back in Thailand. And then next year, 2026, I'll do the full run. So I'll do Vietnam, Hong Kong, Thailand, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur. It's the club seat about 100, 120. And it's all the expats. It's all English teachers. There was one Vietnamese comedian. She's very funny. And she's, born, raised Vietnam, but speaks English. She talks about her Vietnamese friends dating English teachers, like the expats who teach English in Asia. And she's like, you think it's impressive because you're dating some guy who spends all day singing the alphabet song? So it was like some good comedy over there. There's some really good comedians. Rizal's definitely one of them. There's a guy who's been on Netflix a bunch. His name is Jason Leung, Dr. Jason. Dr. Jason was the one who got me into KL. We did a show together at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and right after the show, he comes up and he said, you ever play in Kuala Lumpur? And I was like, no. And he just picked up his phone and called Rizal and said, I just watched this guy in Melbourne. He was fantastic. He's like, book him. And because of Dr. Jason, I got KL, met Rizal, and then found out that you were already a friend of his.
That's great. I know we don't see each other a ton at the club in Edmonton at the comic strip, but the extent of your touring and traveling, I mean, it's great because what was it? You quit your job in, was it 03 or 09 or
Oh,
whenever?
nine, yeah.
Yeah. And
2009.
been gainfully employed in the comedy with the talents of your comedy ever since. So it's great. It's always great to see when people can step off that curb, and it's a test of your resolve, right? I mean, you go, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and I better have my shit together, or else it's going to not last very long, and I don't know if Epcor will hire me back, right?
Yeah, who knows? Well, because how long have you been in radio in Edmonton? I want to say 35, 30 years. How long have you been doing comedy just in Edmonton?
I just passed my 39th anniversary.
Incredible. So I had some questions and some tie-in. So 39 years.
1986.
That's incredible. You are a major part of the fabric of not just radio, but entertainment in Edmonton. And I was, as somebody who started in 2003 in Edmonton and was, 20 years, when people think of like who would be good at this, Terry is front of mind. It's one of those things where, well, that guy's great. So when it comes to hosting Oilers parties or Super Bowl parties or any of these parties, it's front of mind because of the amount of time you've put in, and not just mailing it in, not just phoning it in. When you host something, it's funny. And I don't know how much or if any you did any stand up prior to hosting Funniest Person with a Day Job, but you can kind of do it all. Really, when I think about Terry Evans, when it comes to hosting an event, emceeing a comedy show, doing radio, doing a podcast, everybody knows who you are. So I had the luxury of sort of that on a smaller scale, in that people go, you need a comedian? Well, Lars is just, he does a great job. Whatever you need him to do, he'll do a great job. And then when COVID hit and I did 250 shows in people's backyards, I was, by that point, I had performed in every little town in Western Canada. Anything west of Thunder Bay, I've done a show in your town. And I've had people challenge it. Oh, where are you from? Smith, Alberta, right outside of Slave Lake, Wildcat Saloon. People are like, what? And I'm like, where are you from? Hines Creek. Oh yeah, up by, Grand Prairie. I did a show there. Here's a picture of us there. So it was very easy to make the backyard comedy work because I could speak to them about their towns. I can do 15 minutes on Lloydminster. I can do 20 minutes on Grand Prairie. I can do 15 minutes about Saskatoon. And I think one of my favorite moments of the whole backyard thing, and we'll come back to how I feel so grateful to have had some sort of longevity, to have, survived in the world of entertainment. But it's sort of like deliberate time in and respecting something when you get it. If you went up, and I've seen radio hosts who do it and they don't last very long, they go up and they kind of F off the show because they're like, well, I'm hosting the Bull, forum at, in Lloydminster, like who cares? And they just mail it in and they don't care. They don't get booked back. So, how many times I always wait until there's a real break in the action. And then if you're at an event hosting something, I always pop up and be like, hey, how's it going? Just to say, hey, but you're there doing your job. They're not looking for you because you're out having a smoke. They're like, you're there when they need you to do the prizes or to, do the announcements or to whatever it is. You're great at what you do.
Well, thanks. I mean, I appreciate that. Sometimes I forget that I had a TV show in 1999 and 2002.
I had that on my list of stuff I wanted to ask you about. Right, talk show. So, as really, other than Mike Bullard, in the history of Canada, we've never really had somebody. And I sort of wish that the talk show would have taken place in the days of YouTube, because I think that's something that really would have taken off, the way you see something take off now, where somebody has something and it's got a cool angle to it. And here you were doing something that was, I think, a little bit before its time.
And it's funny that you bring that up, because right now we're seeing a resurgence of Tom Green, because he's moved to the farm outside of Ottawa and he's on a comedy tour right now. He was just on Rogan again, and and he was just on with Bad Friends with Andrew and Bobby Lee and stuff. He's been on, I think he was on Harlan's podcast. But I was talking when Tom came out with his comedy album, with his country album, just a few months ago. I contacted him through Instagram and I said, "Hey Tom, I'm going to do the world premiere of your song on my show this morning." And he was like, "Aren't you a rock station?" I said, "Yeah, who gives a shit?" I mean, so Tom Green, and it was, so we had kind of a guess who this is sort of thing, and played the Tom Green song, and then he called in and we had him on the show. And I think about it because I don't know if you remember, I don't know if we must have met, or maybe we hadn't, because we were still on the building, in the building on 99th Street, just south of 51st Avenue. And it's the old Terry, Bill, and Steve show. And after the show, every morning we would have the Uncensored show. And what we did was we did it on this thing called the internet, where it was streaming live, where people could go on the internet and watch it. Well, we found out that after doing it for 3 or 4 months or whatever it was, and it was brilliant. Steve Jones was our program director at the time. And we were doing this thing. And there was like 4 or 5 people that were able to figure it out and tune in. And we just thought, you know what? I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. So long before satellite radio, long before Tom Green told Joe Rogan how that this thing called the internet and the show and everything, and Joe Rogan said, "Wow, if we could only figure out how to fucking monetize this would be great." And look what, Joe Rogan's gone and done. Well, so
$100 million, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you're right, the TV show we did 33 episodes, and then somebody didn't pay their bill, and Shaw said, "Well, we're not doing it again." And even I had Pizza 73 for $50,000 for a sponsor for the second season.
Yeah. And it was, and you would have monetized that on YouTube because the production value was excellent. It was a legit, and here was somebody that was a young, and this is not blowing smoke. You don't have anything I want, so I want you to know that it, comes from a sincere place. Here was this young, hip person with a great voice that cared about their guests. The reason that a lot of those Barbara Walters and Larry Kings and Mark Maron's, the reason that they have any kind of longevity is because they genuinely are interested in what people are saying. And
how fucking great is Mark Maron, right? the WTF, the What the Fuck podcast, one of the oldest ones that's out there.
Yeah, it's to find your niche when you're 50, whatever he was, 52 years old or whatever, been dropped by his management, and turns out that just asking hard-hitting questions, the generation, sort of my generation or a little before, Barbara Walters could pull that stuff out of people, get them to admit things, cry, and that was sort of their, and there wasn't a lot of competition, but the best podcast people have a nice voice. They're sort of gracious, but then also ask questions that people would want to know. It makes it interesting for people. So it's I really think that would have had some real legs had there been a platform for it, the way that, because we didn't have anything. Canada didn't have anything like that. So you were the perfect guy for that spot. It's just, like you said, 33 episodes, and it was getting better and better. And then there were real sponsors interested, and then one little hiccup, and the network gives up on it.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Well, it was unfortunate. At that time, Bullard was on CTV, and I figured that maybe Global would pick it up. But then Bullard left CTV and went to Global. And I just thought, shit, that would have been such a natural transition, right, straight into Global to go up against him. Because what was happening, I found out that, people were on his show, and then they'd come through like Pam Stone or Harlan Williams or
Hotz. Yeah, whoever.
Jeremy Hotz.
Mike McDonald.
They would come through, and they would be on my show, and they'll go, "Why isn't this a national show? Like this is,
legit."
No disrespect to Mike Bullard, but some of them said, should be a national show. So
yeah, it was legit. It was legit. And I think, like I said, when you're sort of a jack of all trades, and that you can do all of these things, whatever asked of you, you can do it. But I think hosting a music festival is the hardest thing to do. I can't say I love hosting music festivals. I'll do it. But a lot of times there's just a band behind you doing sound check. You're trying to either get some laughs or give away some prizes or do any of that. and it's a thankless job. But when you keep it on schedule, you do it right, you know, do what's asked of you. Hey, there's somebody's missing a kid, you go up and make the announcement, or somebody left their lights on and you go do that. When you're easy to work with, everybody wants to work with you again, which is like with the talk show, with the radio show, with the working at Funniest Person with a Day Job, with the podcast. It's like, oh, this person's great to work with. And you end up having longevity. And I think that's what's helped so much with my career, is that when people think like, oh, who's a guy who is reliable, is going to put on a nice suit, or, you know, show up on time or do whatever. They're like, oh yeah, that Lars guy, he's great. Get him, you know. So
well, and you talk about asking the hard hitting questions. You just got back from Thailand from 8 days with your wife. Did you have a couples massage?
Yes, but only, I don't know if anybody's ever had a Thai massage. It's all elbows. They dig their elbows into your bones. And I said to her, like, by the way, a Thai massage is unpleasant. They twist you and stretch you, and you just dig their, like, it's, I don't know why they massage your bones, but so I said to her, like, we're going for a couples massage, but it's not going to be good. And you can go to the Chinese hot oil massage, which is just a nice couples massage, which you can do. And for the people who haven't been to like Thailand or Bali or Vietnam, the massage is about $8 Canadian for an hour and $10 with a tip. So
yeah, it was $10 with a tip, and that's after there's been a little flick and an ask if. Huh?
Well, the fiance was in.
Hey, that didn't stop my masseuse from asking when Jody was right beside me.
That's hilarious. You should talk about that on stage. That's a good bit.
Reluctantly.
This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by the real estate team of homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals. If you are buying or selling in the Edmonton area, Shauna and Bonnie can handle everything with strong industry connections to mortgage brokers, home inspectors, lawyers, and contractors to support every step. They can sell your current home and find your new place, whether you're expanding as a family, downsizing as empty nesters, or looking for a commercial space for your growing business. I also know they can help you find your new place in the Edmonton region if you're migrating from Ontario, BC, or any other part of Canada for that matter. I first met Shauna and Bonnie 10 years ago when we were beginning to downsize, and they have been our trusted real estate advisors through buying and selling no less than 6 properties. I've also recommended them to many friends who want real, relatable people with a personalized, hands-on approach. New home, investment, recreational, even commercial. Homegirls.ca is the website. Email info is there, and you can call them at 780-517-HOME.
Reluctantly.
Okay, talk to me about the car. I watched the Volkswagen video from 2021. It was just after COVID, and that's when they celebrated the mileage on people who were owning Volkswagen cars. The first thing I have to ask, like if people follow you on social media at Extra Lars, and on Facebook, Lars Callieou, they can see more often than not pictures of your odometer if they're not familiar already. Because what year is your car?
2009. I bought it when I quit my day job, so I wanted a vehicle that had good fuel mileage. So that's what I did. Thanks to Ken Valgertson. Kenny V was the one who inspired my purchase of a Volkswagen.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kenny V always drove Volkswagens. When he would take us on the road, he would always have a Volkswagen, and you got great fuel mileage, and they were reliable. So I knew when I was quitting my day job, I was trading in a 3 Series Beamer, and I traded it in for a brand new Volkswagen, 09 Volkswagen Jetta, and that was inspired by Ken Valgertson. Kenny V. It feels weird to call him Ken Valgertson, but
yeah, well, yeah, we all know Kenny. Him fishing with his dog all the time is what you see on social media and the odd show and stuff that he's doing. I'm surprised he hasn't ended up in Phuket with teachers.
Yeah, they would love him. They would love him. I'll bring him to Australia one year for sure.
Yeah, sure. With the car, the mileage sort of milestones that you hit and you started posting, when did you start thinking of that? Was it 100,000? Was it 50,000? Like what was the impetus of that?
I think I am, and this is not a joke at all, just so your fans and listeners know, I would never make fun of this. And anybody who follows my social media will know this, and it's not in any kind of jest. I'm definitely on the spectrum. Like whether it's an OCD thing or I have always loved numbers ever since I was a little kid. I love numbers. I used to, when I was a little kid, have my own stats thing, and I would get the newspaper and I'd be like, Steve Yzerman had this many assists, and Gretzky had this many, and Lemieux had this many, and Ron Francis had this many. And I would have my own stats that I would pour over every day. So I've always loved numbers, probably more than most. I became a casino dealer, and it was incredibly easy. Numbers just speak to me. So anytime I had a number that sort of was fun, I would take a picture of my odometer. And I didn't post them initially because when I got the car in 09, Facebook really wasn't a thing yet, and Instagram wasn't a thing, and I wasn't on Twitter yet. So I was taking them for my own sort of amusement. So the first time the car got to 5555, 55,555. And then when it got to 111,111. So I have all of those pictures, but those sort of predate social media. And there's one that is the bane of my existence. Oh man, because what I do is I'll prepare the trip odometer. And when I prepare the trip odometer, so it matches up with things. So when it was 678, so 678,000, and then I went 910, so it went 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the trip odometer was 111.2. So it was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all the way across. Well, because this wasn't a time when I would change the clock or like if I would have changed the clock to 12:34, the temperature was 5. So my odometer would have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like it would have been, I was like, when I look back at that, I'm like, oh, all I had to do was change the clock and I would have had it. So I have some really fun ones. I think the funnest, the one that was most fun for me was 707. And if you search on Instagram, so you search, I hope it didn't just kick my headphones off. So if you search Lars Odometer on Instagram, the hashtag Lars Odometer. So you're going to search it for me? Come on, tags. There we go. No, I guess we're not going to do that. So when you search Lars Odometer, it comes up with a whole bunch of odometer posts. So these are the ones I always tag at Lars Odometer. And this was the hardest one to get. This was the one that was the most difficult. So it was 69, 69, 69, 69, 6.9. The reason that it was so hard is because you only had 100 meters before it flipped over to so you had to pre-plan it, but you had to be within a tiny margin.
So, and plus the time was 6:59. How long did you sit there to get it to 6:59 before it was?
I think it was only 4 or 5 hours. It wasn't that long. I got time. So this one was the 707. So the reason that I did this one is because if you flipped it upside down, it was LOL, LOL, LOL.
That's like the Shell oil thing we used to do on our calculators back when we were. Oh my! You're much younger than I am, so
not much. Yeah, so it was. I started then posting on social media, and it's often the thing that people ask me about first. Hey, how's the car? What's the car at? And it's become a little bit fun. I do worry that I'm annoying people. And that's one of the things. I post it for my own amusement, and people seem to enjoy it. But if you overdo something, so what I try and do is only do not every single one. When we were coming up on 8675309, I had it all planned out. I was going to do a video of being I just take it to a parking lot and just roll ahead a little and then it changes. So when we had just done the last one where it was Jenny, so it was 8675309, and I was planning on doing the song playing the 8675309, and somebody commented on it where they went 8675309 /Jetta instead of Jenny. I'm like, why did I think of that? Good thinking.
You should have got somebody to do a parody song of it and then posted that, because I think I was the one who commented that saying that the whatever Meta wouldn't let you use the song because of copyright stuff.
Yeah. So I was planning on doing 2 videos because you had mentioned if you post it with the song, it'll probably get taken down. I hadn't even thought of that. That would have broken my heart to not have a version of that with no song, just in case I could repost it or put it on TikTok or wherever.
What?
And then
if you do a post, you can add music from Instagram and then it stays with it. So
I hope I'm able to do that. But yeah. It was the snowstorm last week where we got all that snow.
Mm-hmm.
I was right in the middle of that coming back from a show, and there was nothing I could do. I couldn't pull over. There was nowhere safe to do it. So all I had was just like a not blurry, but not a great photo of the number. But I had a slightly bigger thing planned for it. I was really looking forward to it. So as I'm driving through this blizzard, I'm like, oh, rats. We almost had it. So the next one is probably 900,000, I think, is the next one. And then I think in probably a year and a half, knock on wood, we'll be at 1 million.
A year and a half, huh? So that will put you at 2026. That gives you 15 years?
Yeah, 15. I bought it July of 2009. So, and I spend 3 months a year, 2.5 months a year in Australia. So the car is, even though I'm still doing 75,000 kilometers a year in the car, that's in 9 months because I'm usually out on the road in Asia or Australia.
Are you able to do a Ferris Bueller where you can roll it backwards in case you miss a number? You can drive it around backwards and stuff?
Oh, I've only ever miscalculated once. I'm very thorough when I do the odometer stuff. And I miscalculated once. And when the number came up, I realized I was off by a kilometer. And I was like, oh, son of a. So I didn't even think about Ferris Buellering it.
Even on the old cars with the ones that click over, I don't even think you can do that with those. I mean, if somebody's listening, they could prove me wrong. But
yeah, well, back in the day when they would roll them back, car dealerships, when it was non-digital, people would take them out and roll them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you hosting Funniest Person with a Day Job this year? I should have asked you before we got on air. And I wanted to mention it for the people who might not be familiar with that, with you doing that. I mean, obviously you'd mention it on the show, but so Funniest Person with a Day Job started in 2005. So this would be the 20th anniversary of Funniest Person with a Day Job. They got the idea, I believe, and I would have to confirm this with Rick and Dino, but Austin has had a Funniest Person with a Day Job. Austin, Texas has had a Funniest Person with a Day Job contest that's incredibly prestigious. Like they have had that for 40 years. Cap City Comedy Club and then I believe Winnipeg got that from them. So Winnipeg had Funniest Person with a Day Job. So in 2004, when I was host MC at the Comic Strip, we got the Winnipeg winner of Funniest Person with a Day Job, who came and got to perform at a concert series weekend with us. So it could have been Harland, actually. I think it might have been the weekend that the winner got to come and do that. So Winnipeg had a Funniest Person with a Day Job. So the Comic Strip would have started theirs in 2005. As far as amateur comedians in amateur comedy competitions in Canada, it's really one of the good ones. It's quite prestigious, and there's great judges, and it has a wonderful vibe, and they usually get and watching Terry host that is really fun for me as somebody who predates some of the comedians that weren't even born when I started comedy. So watching you do that, and when I was in high school, you were our guy. Like the Bear wasn't even around when I was in junior high, man. We listened to you. Like it was, and not that we switched. I'm saying you were somebody. So getting to see you then be a comedian is awesome. It's really fun because your personality is, you don't soften anything. You go up and say really funny things, and it's not offensive, but it's not the radio clean version of Terry Evans. Like you get to see Terry Evans doing real comedy in real time. And I think it's great. And you're pretty good at roasting some of the acts who might not be great. So it's fun. So I have no horse in this race. I was a working comedian when they started doing the competition, so I never got to do it. But it's something where all the comedians come out and watch, and everybody wants to be in it. And to have you host it, for me, is like a merging of two worlds. Like it's the radio world and the comedy world coming together. So for me, it's kind of cool. It's a cool thing to get to see you in the world that I've spent all of my time in. So I love it. And I know that Rick's a fan of the work you do with it too. So I imagine you're going to be the go-to guy again.
Well, I really appreciate that. I didn't anticipate that there was going to be this much adulation toward me on the show today, but it's very much appreciated. And
it's factually accurate, man. It's all just accurate.
I do enjoy doing it. I do enjoy hosting it. I kind of wish it wasn't on a Tuesday night because I have to go in and wake up at 3:30 the next morning and do the show on the radio. But it is a lot of fun. And there's been some really talented comedians who have come through there out of winning that. Even the people who haven't won have been very talented and gone on to do some pretty tremendous things. But, you think back of some of the winners, Sterling Scott and Brett Forte and Lisa Baker. And I mean, there's been some really
Charles Haycock.
Charles, who's terrific. And you should see him with a yo-yo too.
Yeah, world class, like one of the best in the world. And as somebody who's been watching it, I don't think I got to host it ever. Maybe I got to do a couple of the warm-up spots and close out the stall set they do at the end while they're tallying votes. But it's a really cool thing. And Tuesdays when that's amateur night, so that's when it's going to be. But if people are looking for something to do, I think the tickets are super cheap, like $10 or something, or $5, and you go out and watch the next generation of comedians competing in this really cool thing. So
we're not far away from that for sure. Again, hey Lars, it was great to catch up with you. I continued success with the car. I hope you make it to a million kilometers. Also, safe travels to Australia. You're off to Australia here right away.
Yeah. Headed back down under. There's follow Chris the Bloke Franklin. I always like to give him a plug. He's a famous Australian comedian who I take on tour with the Commonwealth Comedy Tour here every September. Chris the Bloke Franklin. If there's any Aussies who are fans of yours, he had a hit song in 2001, called Bloke. And Bloke, which hilarious video, but also really is the Australian equivalent of the good old hockey song, for lack of another comparison. It is massively famous, like multi-platinum, and really wonderful guy to tour with and good friend. And it'd be funny for him to pick up a bunch of Instagram followers like Chris the Bloke. And I tell people with mine, if you go follow me on Instagram, I follow everybody back. So I'll follow you back, and then you can just unfollow me. So they'll gain a follower. I won't even know.
Right. Okay. And if people want to know, you're at Extra Lars.
Yeah, with an E, extra, like you spell extra. So yeah, man, it's a pleasure. It's always nice chatting with you.
Yeah, it's always good to see you at the club, and when we bump into each other, it's it's the same thing. You're one of the good guys. So I was looking forward to having you on the podcast, and continued success, and be safe on your travels, man. It's good seeing you.
Thanks, my friend.
Reluctantly.
Today's podcast brought to you by homegirls.ca, a top producing team at Remax Professionals, and Northern Alberta Heating. Work in and out of Edmonton. They're looking for sheet metal workers. Resumes to tim@northernheating.ca. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
Reluctantly.